Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Terrain Studio. I'm your host, Sean Morris. Today on the Terrain Studio bonus footage, if you will, we're going to be bringing you some of the Kashyyyk builds. So looking forward to this. I'm going to sit down with you guys for a few hours and knock out some work. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to get at, but I do have a number of things to walk you through and show you. So I set the studio up a little bit different today so that you can see a couple things at the same time, and then I will also just bounce back and forth a little bit there. So let's walk you through the screen so you guys can see what you're going to be looking at, and we'll go from there. So just looking at this shot here, I'll be working kind of under the close cam on one side, and then you can sort of see that wall that I've been working at. I worked on most of that during Kashyyyk week. So if you haven't saw that, go back to the YouTube and you guys can see that there. I'm just going to be working on these sort of like finger-like projections coming off the front. I have to build all the side pieces for that, so I'll probably be doing most of that today. It's a nice monotonous task that I can stay at and then chat with you guys. This isn't so much around a tutorial or a technique video, but it's certainly something to an open share forum, if you will, and a chance to sort of just converse as I'm sort of working through. So you guys are keeping me as much company as I am entertaining you, and perhaps a little bit more skewed one way or the other. So that we have today. Just looking at the other cam here, you guys can see obviously the tree is taking shape. This is a 3x3. It is a skirmish table. We're making it, really using it as a showcase. I'm using it as a showcase piece here for all things Kashyyyk and Kashyyyk related. So really looking forward to working on that beach. I have a lot more to do on the tree, although I did sort of freeform that tree out a while ago, and so it has a lot more things to go on it, but as you can see, it dominates a large portion of the table, and you can see both sort of the full profile here as well as the base. So the idea being that the tree is clearly the focal point, but I want to make everything around it just as interesting and make all the pieces that are around it kind of the focal points as well. So I know that the eye naturally goes to the biggest and tallest thing. That being said, there's a lot going on, and there will be a lot going on in this table all around, and you haven't even seen the backside just because I haven't really focused on the other side, but we'll certainly get to that over the coming period of time here. So just swapping over here, like I said, I'll just be working underneath there. I'll kind of show you what I'm working on throughout. It's just an opportunity to kind of see. I'm going to be working a lot with plastic cards, so white on white, and so there won't be a lot of contrast, but I'll certainly walk you through that as I make progress. Again, just another close-up of that, and I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about the concept here. I know there was some questions around like the functionality and the movement. I assure you I have a plan for everything, and I'll certainly walk you through that as I need a break from the builds that I'm doing. And then obviously just a full shot here so you guys can see part of the studio, and I'll kind of bounce back and forth between those. So if anytime you want to see something I'm not showing you on camera, but you want to have a look at that, I'll certainly rotate between those as well. So a couple things I'm trying out too on these live streams. Let's not forget this is a business for me, and so as I run as such, and so really my Patreon funds everything that you've just seen here, the lights, the cameras, the action kind of so to speak. And so I am testing out a few things. I do have my patrons running across the top, so I want to acknowledge all of them, and I will give some shout outs as I go through the show today, but I do want to acknowledge those folks. My patrons, it's fledgling, it's growing, but it is fantastic, and it really helps me to drive and make my production value even better. So, and I work a lot at that, just as much as Terrain seemingly here in the last little bit. So I want to point out a couple things, though. You don't have to be a patron to be part of the Terrain Studio. I do lots of free things, and you guys will see lots of tutorials coming out for free as well. As I said, I'm just an average host here, but I do have a couple widgets that I'm trying out. So if you are inclined and you're not a subscriber of YouTube, I do ask if you want to, if you can go sub my channel. It's the Terrain Studio, and I want to see if I can get some people's names to appear on screen, see if I have these widgets set properly. So that would be fantastic if you guys can give that a shout for me as well too. If you don't want to be a patron, but you do want to support something going on in the studio, I do have my PayPal there, shameless plug, but like I said, this is a business for me, folks, and so I do appreciate any sort of influx or infuse that you can give to kind of keep these things going. This is a studio project just made for filming, thing. So it's not sold. This is just all out of pocket and a production piece, just so that I can produce some content for the folks at home during this quarantine time. I'm really trying to do my part to keep people sane and keep people tied to the hobby, myself included. So as I said, it's a reciprocal benefit for you and me. But if you want to donate or you want to become a patron, it's the Terrain Studio 2019 at gmail.com. You can find it on Patreon, the Terrain Studio. It's pretty redundant. It's easy to find. So like I said, let's get at some of this stuff. Let's get some building going. I do encourage you, as always, with all my videos, if you are working parallel with me, either painting, building, whatever, assembly, all that stuff, I love to hear that. So definitely put that in chat. Sound off in chat as well. Let me know where you're from, what you're doing, all those great things. As much interactivity as we can with the streams is best. Otherwise, it's just me prattling on or sitting in silence, which is no fun and really kind of defeats the purpose of the whole live stream anyway. So I'm going to get over to the table. We'll look forward to you guys trailing in. If you want to do me a favor too, share the link out. If you have any hobby bros or gals in the on your feeds or your streams or your social media platforms that you think would be benefit or want to hang out, that'd be fantastic. I appreciate all the sharing I can get. So all right, let's jump over to the table and we'll get rolling. Any questions, fire them in the chat. I got my screen on and my TV on so I can see all that stuff and respond in turn. All right, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I have the microphone above me kind of picking up the whole room, so you guys might hear a little bit of ambiance as well, but we'll do our best to sort of stay focused here. Let me start out with the first few Patreon shoutouts. Like I said, I'll get them all through the show today, so that should be running across the top there. So shoutouts to Aaron, shoutouts to Phoenix Games out of Australia. My groups are all over. Shoutout to Johnny, shoutout to Donnie, shoutout to Nick, shoutout to Jeff, and shoutout to Sheldon, and we'll get the rest here as we go. So if you guys can see over here, I'll just sort of swap over. We've been working a bunch on the table, and really we worked on this wall. We sort of put this in, and so a ton of people, oldest joke in the book already, the Jurassic Park vibes that people are getting from this. I assure you, it's simulated after the Kashyyyk, I think it's a Jedi Fallen Order, the seawall that's in there. And so they have this sort of piping up here. It's way out of scale. Like this is like so ginormous it would never even fit on here. But so I scaled it down in terms of keeping the look, and I really think that plays well. It gives a nice little barricade. It gives this sort of like parapet type feel, and so you certainly have this like storm the beach, storm the castle type feel, and especially when we start adding those huts, that will really sell the look even more. So got that done, and that's in place. I got a sea gate here as well. That's also taken from some video game images, and it's kind of like sort of flanked rather by these sort of sea walls, and you can sort of see that look going through there. I wrapped it around here. This is not really a playable piece. This is the outside of the table, but I like my tables to be visually appealing and visually appealing from all aspects, especially a skirmish table where you can rotate it around, so there is no real technical front or side. So that's kind of the reason that I did that. It's a lot of work to really have a non-playable piece, but that's kind of the thing that I do, and so I'm okay with that. It'll sell the look in the end. Then what we did is I moved on to this front. Now originally I had tons of ideas around this. I will say when I first had this conception, it was just going to be sand coming in, and then this later got added, and then because this got added, and it's just been a train wreck or a train basically derailing here in a good way. I would say that there's a ton of stuff to add, and so I really was trying to figure out how I was going to have this transition from beach to wall to upper wall to et cetera as you move it in. And so I really was inspired by the Kashyyyk sort of barricades, and I will incorporate some of those, but they're going to be more modular, and I really want them for gameplay purposes. But in doing that, I wanted to sort of have this like preparation type beach, this almost like a little bit of like the D-Day type feel, where there's like, you know, some sort of fortification and almost ready for an impending attack, right? So I sort of stole the look of the Kashyyyk barricade and then infused it into into the wall here. And so these pieces, if I slide over here, can't quite see it. Let me get a close cam here, something a little close. There we go. So sliding back over here for a second, once I get those pieces in, then I can actually move to start attaching this large piece on here. So if I pull all these away for a second, of which they are just set in place, move all these. Here we go. This piece is still detached, and so it's not attached to the table at all. And so just holding that up, you guys can see the work that's gone in here. There's a lot of detail in these struts that are kind of running through here. Even a little bit of detail on the back, those ports there. The idea being that when floodwaters get high, it has a backflow area, and so that needs to be done. I have these grates here sent over by my buddy Curtis at Horizon, and I'll give you guys a link to that after. And these are actually going to be dremeled in and recessed into the pink foam, and I just wanted to have some sort of feature, again, those sort of drain elements. And so I'll probably cut off the rivets. I'm not keen on those for this particular design. That's just a design that they're there. Certainly functional and purposeful for other things, but I'm just going to cut around that and just give it a nice sort of smooth and clean finish. And so that's going to be recessed down there. I'm going to use another one of these later on somewhere else in the project as well. But once I finish that, and you guys can see that C gate there, maybe I'll tip that up so you guys can see. It was a really fun piece to do. There's a ton of geometry in that, and I'm not sure if you guys can quite see that, but it's got sort of this wedge-like appearance, and I stole that directly from the images and tried to replicate the door as best I could. So, but once this is finished, it's going to be set into the table, and we'll find the place of the back side there. There we go. And as you can see, it snug fits in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our ground mixture. It's going to kind of come over these teeth a little bit, really solidify the look in there, have that as a free flow, and then that'll get sand over it. But once we start tying in all the ground elements, it's really going to start bringing some sort of continuity to the table. And so, as opposed to these really hard truncated lines, we'll have the sand right up to the bottom of the door, some sand on top of here, and really start to tie in these elements. We also have the huts we talked about before, and I think you guys are getting, if you go back to look like Kashyyyk day one of the 9 days that I sort of shared, I think you guys will really see the development of this concept. But so we're going to have the huts go out here, and you'll notice that they're on these sort of elevated bases. These are also going to be not dremeled, but I'm going to just straight cut out the foam circle. I'll trim the circle down, and then these will recess in, not quite to the bamboo skewers, but just above, and that way I can bring the sand right up and still have a little slightly elevated piece, but clearly not as elevated as it is at present. But then when it's set there, you're going to notice that we have this sort of transitional piece, and there is no, I was going to put a staircase in or some sort of transition. I didn't like it as much when I started mocking it up, but what I did like is the idea that we can continue to bring in the platforms. And so what I'm going to do is a bridge platform going between these two huts, and then another one from this hut to this hut. And so you'll really sort of sell that look, that continuity that we talked about before. And of course we have those stepping stones that need to go over here. So that's kind of the flow that's going to happen. There were some questions about that. I'm not sure if they were Facebook questions or where they were, but I did sort of share that thought. and I wanted to articulate that out kind of in the general public if I didn't share that on the other platform where the question was specifically asked. So yeah, that's what I'm going to work on. Obviously, that's another piece that needs to be developed, but I'm really trying to drive the finish look of the wall, get all the plastic card work done. I obviously still have to do the backside, and so before I can solidify this in, I'm just going to show you, we do have a large canvas here on the back, and so you can see that's just smooth. That's just a profile line of the back surrounding ground that you guys can see back here. So what I'm going to do back here on this sort of flat section is I'm going to take, there's sort of this design, these panels that are on some of the seawall, and I'm just going to put that around here. So it's going to be a relatively flat, low profile piece, but certainly want to sort of tie that look in and keep that in there. I'm also going to put some vents and things like that. So welcome, Bernard. That's awesome that you're here. Hey, Bernard, if you can do me a favor, if it's not already showing up, if you wouldn't mind, on some of the Legion pages, could you just share the live link? I'm not sure if people are able to find it from the old post, but if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. I really appreciate that. Bernard, by the way, one of my patrons, so of course, big shout out. I think you'll find your name up in the top ticker there, Bernard. So yeah, so that needs to be done, and then that's when I'm going to be able to solidify that, attach it in there, and then the board's really going to start taking off because you guys will see all of the cool elements really start to take shape. And I think once I get the groundwork on this side done, over here it's relatively flat, and so I'll do all the groundwork at once, and then we're into things like beach and sand and water. And then we have to move back to the tree because there's a ton of elements to do, all the mechanical bits, the chimneys, the chutes, everything that's going to be moving out from the edge, and obviously onto the hut. So there's a lot of work to do, but every little bit is making this look into a more conducive table. And I think if you guys stick around and follow the project, you'll see it sort of take shape, and that's always a fun thing to do, a fun concept. So, all right, I'm going to move these over here, and let's swap back to. Let's go to this one here, just so you guys can kind of see what we're working on here. So, all right, and sound off in chat. Like I said, if you guys are just joining us, YouTube, Facebook, doesn't really matter. I'd love to have somebody try out that widget, so just go sub me on YouTube. It's completely free, really simple, and then we can see if we can get a name to pop up on the screen. I got those things done correctly. So what we're going to do is lay out all these pieces, and we're going to start cutting the side designs. And maybe what I'll do is I'll swap to How about now? You guys should be able to hear me now. I'll just wait so I don't go any further. See if you guys have me now. Testing 1 2 1 2. I think you should be good. No sound. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, good. Yeah, I think when I just did a camera flutter there, I think it just defaulted back to no sound. So we should be good. So like I was saying, I'm not cutting all the way through because I don't want it to flex or bend. And then when I'm cutting the next one, I get a little bend and I can make my cut a little bit off. So that I'm trying to avoid. Now, typically what I'll do is I'll cut one of these for one side, cut the other one for the other side, and then go ahead and basically dry fit them, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to do one side here at a time. So I want to flex this out a little bit to the front edge, just because I want to make sure that when my two pieces come together, this is my plastic card. If I cut them just short, I'm going to get a line in the front, and I don't want that. I want them to come together and give me a little bit of room to sand and sort of flex that over. On the back side, however, I can make it pretty flush. So I'm just going to look at this, just see. I'm probably just going to take a shave off the front here, just a little bit. And again, each piece is a little bit unique because every piece that I've made so far is, just a little bit different size or different cut, or the top plastic is just a little bit off from the bottom, and that's just a natural piece when you're scratch building. So sometimes you can like take a standard measurement and cut them all the exact same, but sometimes what I find is if you do that and something is a little bit off, then you just really wasted your cut. So I like to check each piece and measure them individually. It just makes it a lot cleaner for me. So. All right, so there is the, yeah, perfect. I appreciate that. Hearing test 1 2, got it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just show you how to make those side pieces. And so again, just making the that right there is what we're going to do. And so that is just recessed into the side. The other side is also done. And we're just going to cut that just out of this little plastic here. So for this, what I used is a couple sort of known pieces for measurements. Just trying to, if I can remember which ones I used. So I used this piece right here. It is 3/16 tubing. I use all kinds of different things to sort of like help me create my measurements. So I have this little gamer's grass sort of keychain that they sent. It's really nice because I can manipulate, hold it with my fingers, and it creates a nice backing piece for me. And so I'm going to put this first one on. I'll draw this out and then I'll show you guys what the drawing looks like before I do any cuts. And so that is definitely one of them. And then I believe at the top we do, we need another sized tube, which is this one right here. And as always, I'll say it just in case you're new here, I like to use things that are known measurements. So no rulers. I'm not trying to remember, like 5 millimeters or, a half an inch or anything. I just using standard pieces, put them on, and I can measure out the lines super quickly with that. So that being said, though, there is a measurement that I do need to take in terms of finding the center of this, and so sort of calculating out from this edge. So it's one of these, and then I believe I used from there one more of this, and then I made one more line. So let me grab this, 'cause I think I'm going to use this one here. Just trying to remember, I did this test one several days ago, so I want to make sure that I get it right here. So I believe it is that, followed by that. Just verify that. Here we go. That. All right, got it. All right, so just using my slightly larger tube. It's this, followed by this to make one line, and then from there we made one more. There we go, and that should trail down to the front. We just test this along the side to see if it looks about right. There we go, and we just need to do one measurement up front. And then I will show you guys under the camera what this looks like. Please ask any of your questions that you have of the Kashyyyk project. I'm more than willing to answer those for sure. All right, so let me hold those up to the camera there. So this is the finished piece, and you guys can see the cuts there, hopefully the dimension showing up. And then that is just what the line drawing looks like there. And so what we're gonna do is just hack those pieces out real quick, and then I'll show you how that attaches. Okay, so really quick and easy, and we only have to do whatever this pile is here times 2 of these, but certainly your questions will help break that up, so feel free to distract as much as possible. So again, I want to keep this really still when I'm cutting these. I am actually scoring the first one because I want to make sure that if in fact it just pulls away like it did there, I can go right back into the same groove because I do not want to double cut any of these. And sorry if I'm quiet while I'm concentrating. It's just it's way easier. It's like finding looking for an address and you got to turn the radio down for a second. It's like it's one of those things. All right. Cut this other edge here. There's one done. And 2. There we go. Okay, let me pop these out. Give it a little flex. There. Flex this. There. Flex that. There we go. So that's what that looks like now, all cut out. It's going to then pop into the side. Which side we measure here? This one here. There we go. So we now have that glued into there, or we will glue that into there, and that'll give us that front wedge. And so each of those pieces, obviously, they don't have a lot of depth in the white on white, but that's going to create a nice little recess, and we're going to have each of these subsequently go in order as we sort of move along the edge. And so just jumping back, if you're just joining us now, we jump underneath that close cam. So you can see right here, it doesn't matter where I move each of these pieces. Based on the design, they all fit in unison, and they fit underneath this little lip that I created. And so that sort of hides that back edge. That's why I don't have any plastic card on the back of them. And then they're able to wrap around this contour. So like I said, it doesn't matter at what position I pop these in. They fit underneath the lip, they fit in unison, and then each one butts up and covers the adjacent one, and so there's no gaps in between there, which is super nice. So that is what we're doing there. So we got to cut, obviously, we got to cut several more of these. So let's just leave that one there. Let's cut another couple here as we wait for questions to pop in. So let's make sure we get some more shout outs here. I'm not sure we were before, but shout out to Roland, Imperial Terrain, Aaron, Chris, Brian, Michael, Stephen, Chris, and Gordon. We'll get some more on there for sure. These are all my loyal patrons. I appreciate them greatly. Each month they get to get a new tutorial that I'm putting out. This month I'm putting continuation of a road tutorial that I started last month. I got the road foundation, and now I'm going to winterize it for them and show them how to do cool ice and snow effects on a road. I've done them several times. I really like ice and snow, and I figured it's a nice contrast to the sort of more jungle-esque world that I'm working on here now for Kashyyyk. So if you guys want to check that out, you certainly can. I will also release another one to the public. I'm not sure what tutorial I'll put out, but every time I do a paid one, I do a free public one as well. So just a nice way to recycle the hobby. All right, so just quickly mocking that out. This part doesn't need to be measured too uniformly because, like I said, I'm going to trim it the second it goes back on. So I have a little giddy girl upstairs too, if you guys are hearing that. All right, so just cut, and cut. There we go. Oh, how about trenches? In terms of like making trenches, or you have more trench questions? So I thought you were the guy making trenches. Alright, so just popping that on there. I think that's going to be fine. We'll trim that up to the front area. There. Make sure that's going to fit. I think it's going to be fine. Alright, let's do some crude measurements here as we're going. Alright, pop that on there, make a line. Perfect. The top, make a line. That looks great. To the front, make a line. To the back, this and this, make a line. One more of these. Make a line. There we go. Awesome. And we'll keep with the cutting here. So I think you guys have seen or got the technique once. It's just a redundancy. So, but again, each piece is a little bit unique because it's going to fit exactly to the section that I want. So. Nice thing is, like, after this, there's not really any cleaning up to do. Like, you know, if you have like a 3D print, you might have like lines or things to sand off. Like, this is relatively flat. It's cut precise, so there's no flashing or cleanup to really do. Everything fits each piece, and so while there is some replication for sure, it's kind of nice in the sense that it comes out pretty uniform. So, all right, pop this up. Break that off. Break that off. And there we go. We got two of them done. All right. So trenches, reference trenches here. And we got 5 people hanging out, so please let me know in the chat who you are and what you're doing and where you're from. So reference trenches. I'm not sure I can make a video of it. I will try to take pictures of what I do so I can share the knowledge. Fantastic. Yeah, I'd like to know if you're going to end up doing the more modular or sort of the static ones, because that'll be of interest, whether you mold them in or whether you put them as modular pieces. So just so you guys know, I'm going to use a little bit of super glue here. It's Bob Smith Industry stuff. Really like this. A little stinky though, so I have to keep it away from me and close because it does irritate me. But I didn't buy any of the gold stuff because it's like $60 a bottle, and it's the no sense stuff. And well, it's super nice. It's hard to find a lot of times. So, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this piece of plastic card here because I already have some glue on it. Excuse me. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of coverage on here. I want to keep it fairly thin. I'm not looking to float this piece, and like I said, when we're talking about a little bit of cleanup, we're trying to limit the amount of sort of glue mess that we get. So a little bit there, it's good. Pull this piece off. Slide this into place. Want to line it up with the back. I didn't trim the bottom on this one, I just realized, but that's okay. It's a nice flush fit, so we'll just have a little bit of sanding to do there. I'll show you how to do that. Actually, it's going to be just fine. So just worked out. All right, gonna hold that in place real quick. There, quick shot of accelerant just for the purposes of video here. Hey, Jace Ryan hanging out. All right, I'm just gonna push that into place. There we go. All right, gonna grab the other one. Grab a little bit of glue for this side. Here we go. Caking that on there. Awesome. Whoops. Scratch that. We'll just do the other side of the glue. It'll be much better. Side we actually need to use. Alright. Just keeping it super, super thin. This stuff does not need a lot of strength to hold on to the side. That is for sure. Alright, let's slide this into place. There. I think you guys will like what this looks like. Oh, that was the one that I didn't trim. Okay, that makes more sense. Alright, I'm just going to grab my square. I like using this because it's got a really nice metal plate right here at the bottom, and I can hold plastic card super nicely. Do super quick trims. There we go. That's how easy that is. We're going to let that dry, but let me bring this back to camera for you guys. I'll have to bear with that for a second. There we go. And so that was the one that I just made. You guys can kind of see how that is framed up. And then this was the one that was previously made. And so you can see they're effectively exactly the same. So we'll go ahead and put those together on our table, and then we'll start getting that design replicated. So, all right. Washington State here. I'm taking a break for Legion, painting some FOW US Paris. Perfect. That's awesome. Appreciate that. Paint away. Do whatever you need to do for hobby. It's just nice to hang out with some people. So, okay, so we got 2 of those done. We're gonna keep pressing on here with a few more because that is what we need to do at this time. So, I'm just gonna get rid of this a little bit there. Let's see if we can knock out some more shapes here real quick. And again, the nice part about this is that I can actually grab some scrap pieces. It doesn't even matter what the initial shape is because it's so easy to just find a spot where this works. There we go. So just again, true shape. I didn't even cut the whole mark the whole triangle because I just need to cut that rough shape out. There we go. There. Yeah, so this is the last bit of like, I guess, probably the most plastic card work is definitely, certainly in this wall, without question, I guess, but these pieces are certainly the most that I need to do. Doing the struts, which I also did during the week, and so you guys can see these as well. This was just an extra one that I made just in case there was an issue, but you can see there's a plastic card flap on the front, there's a recessed section, there's these holes that go through, and they actually have to line up. So I think I used, is it 8? Yeah, I used 8 of these in conjunction, and so here's a couple extra ones I just didn't trim off the back piece of here. But lining all of these up to kind of go through and get all of the rod to go through was a bit of a challenge. But again, I typically make a few extra, like these pieces that I'm working on right here. I have 4 or 5 extra. It seems like a lot of work to make extra pieces, but it's really important that kind of when I move on from this stage, I don't want to have to come back and sort of remember, even just trying to remember the piece that I did for the test versus like, now I'm going to get in this, obviously replicate a bunch of pieces. It's easy, but I don't want to have to come back and make things like, I don't have to set my jig back up to cut this particular shape. And so once I've done that, I even cut extra foam ones. And then obviously then I just trim that number down. I'm like, okay, I'll make 2 extra plastic card covered ones. I don't need these, I'll set them aside. With these, I cut a whole bunch of triangles. I didn't need all the triangles covered in plastic card. I covered what I needed to. I covered a few extra. Then from there, I'm only going to do the trim on the ones that I need, and I move on because I don't want to have to kind of go back and do all of those measurements and remembering pieces. That's the challenge. It's not like I have an STL file where I can just go and throw that on the printer and print 5 or 6 more 6 months down the road. And so while I can replicate this, setting up the jig to be exactly set for this will be pretty hard. And so that's one of the things that I do when I'm scratch building as I work my way through. So Bernard says, just wondering, have you thought about casting parts? Yeah, fair enough. Are you making a mold and using them? Yes. Got you. So funny that you asked me that. So I'm not sure if Ken Horton will join us at some point today, although he did bring that very topic up. And while resin casting is something that can certainly be done, I'll tell you, I'm not in particular favor of it because again, one of the things that I like to do and sort of stay unique in the fact is that really making one-off stuff. And while I'm even replicating some of the things that I'm doing myself, it is truly still a one-off one-off piece. And so I tend not to do any of that or have really any interest in doing that. I'm much more interested in just replicating things in the volume that I need, the quantity I need, and that's the way I'm going to probably stick at it for a while. So now if I'm doing a project, for instance, if I'm making something for a company and they want to make a master of it or something along those lines, and that's a different story, and then it's still a one-off for me, and then somebody else will be casting that. So I'd be interested in making things that could be casted, but myself, I'm just not making casts. I'm not gonna likely ever have to replicate these again, and so therefore this is just, for me, it's just as easy to do this. I'm sorry we have an unhappy person there. It's just part of what you need to deal with this. So mute it. You can just watch me. She's not feeling the best today, so, but I did say I was going ahead with the stream, so here I am. All right, so we got that line. Got to flip this back over. This guy, there. Make that line. Make this line, and one more. All right, there we go. And then we'll just cut this out, quick and easy. Tricky to hold those pieces in place, so you got to really make sure you get a good solid grip to run your knife through. But overall, these pieces aren't that complex to do. Even getting to this stage wasn't actually a ton of work. This is probably the longest part of this process, because I actually have to do multiple cuts on the same piece. Excuse me. But the rest was super easy to get up to this point. There you go. Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan up there is. It sounds like we're getting some headway, so I think it's just a refusal to nap at this point. All right, this piece wants to be stubborn. Just need to trim that just a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. All right, that's one. We'll cut another. If there's any more questions. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, she's certainly got the drama part down, that's for sure. No subs flashed across the screen that I've seen. Let me know if I miss any, because I'm looking down. I don't want to miss that. I'm really interested in trying this widget. So even if you want to go unsub from my YouTube channel just to sub again, that would be fantastic. I'm just very curious if it actually works. So all right, there we go. Let's measure off another piece here. Line there, looks great. Let's cut another. This is one of those things that I'm looking forward to getting to the next stage. Like, it was fun to build the first one and design the wall and all that, and while this is still fun, it's like, oh, now my interest is like, what does this look like with the ground paste around it? What does this look like with the sand sort of butting up against it? So I'm very keen and interested to get there. I just can't get there until I finish, so I gotta put in the sweat equity to get there, and that's just where I'm at today. All right, that is the wrong measurement. This is the one I need here. And so you guys, I'm not sure if you're seeing the efficiency in the sense that I don't have to get a ruler out and measure anything, and so that's why I just really always try to use these known quantities, and they are measured. So there is a measurement aspect to them. They are a particular size and they are a known measurement. But in the interest of like just being able to quickly throw these gauges on, it's extraordinarily fast for me to not have to grab a ruler and align it to anything. I'm aligning it against a fixed point every single time. And truthfully, I probably can just freehand these cuts. I feel confident enough in my skills to measure and cut these straight lines, and so I might just do that to expedite the process a little bit more too. So just because I already have a pencil line and it's very easy to follow that line. I can just keep my ruler out of the way, and you guys can probably see a little bit more that way as well. So, all right, so I'm just going to cut between these. I'm going to change this blade here pretty soon because I can feel it's probably could be a little bit sharper. All right, there we go. Awesome. So that's another one knocked out. There we go. Perfect. Shift that to the side. So keep your gauges set to one side and keep all your scraps. I always just push my scraps off to one side. I just had a massive pile of clippings and trimmings that I just got rid of before stream. So I grab a little bit more glue. I'm just putting down a little bit each time. So just because I don't typically glue everything all at once. And there's a reason for it. I'm gonna show you why I'm gonna do that. I sort of use the natural spacing of the time between things. And so I'm gonna revisit the first one that I did and show you how to do the final bit of cleanup and trimming for that. So let's grab this piece here, scrap piece. Just get a little bit of glue. Spread that out on our piece that we have. Again, don't need a lot of glue on there. And I didn't trim the piece purposefully because I'm gonna do that again on my piece of metal. It's just a lot easier there than having to do the pencil lines. So there we go, got that on there. Grab my ruler, or my T-square. There, there. To get, so I want to get it as flush as possible. There we go. Perfect. That front will trim a little bit, but we'll do that with the sanding stick. Make sure I do the correct size this time. This side this time for the glue. Spread that all out. There we go. Perfect. Any questions, folks? Ask away if you want to see anything on the board itself. Any concept questions? Bernard, I think you maybe asked me a question before about joining up the wall and if I had a plan for transitioning. I'm not sure if you were on the stream when I shared that or not, but let me know. All right, so there we go. We're just going to let that set up and dry. Now I'm just going to go back to the one I did before, which I believe is this one here. And so what I'm going to do on the front edge of this, if you guys can see, that's right where the two pieces join, and there's a teeny line there. Again, white on white's hard to see, but I'm just going to grab a sanding stick. This is classified as a fine sanding stick. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to angle the front pieces together. And so what I'm effectively doing is sort of like trimming the end off, and so instead of being like flush up and down, I'm angling it slightly. And so if you can imagine, they came together and they were sort of squared off, and what I'm going to do is angle them so that the point sort of ends up more in line with the actual point. And so all I have to do there is just change my angle of my sanding stick and bring it together. I'm going to show you what that sort of does in the finished product here. Let me see if I can get real close here on my camera. So there we go. And so you can see the front, how we can kind of close that line together. And so really that's what we're looking to do. And so instead of having two flush cut ends, we're just angling that piece together. So what I effectively do is finish one, glue it, set it aside. Do another one, glue it, set it aside. Go back to the other one, do the sanding, leave that, and then sort of keep bumping down the assembly line. And then before you know it, although it does seem like a tedious task, before you know it, you have 7, 8, 9, 10 done. I think we have to do, there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 20, 23 in total, I think, 23, 24. Is the number that we need to do. So we're just going to continue to plug away, answer questions, and show things as we go here. So grab that. All right. Next up, measure another piece. And again, I created a nice little lip within the design here, and so that's actually purposeful for two things. One, it actually helps me to shape out the measurements for the cuts real easy. And I'm just going to flop over here and just sort of do a couple at a time. There we go. I'm not sure if anybody in chat's working on anything. I know Bernard's sort of contemplating how he's going to tackle some trenches. We have was it Dan? I think maybe Dan was working on some FOW, paint some FOW, listening to me prattle on, so that's cool. Hopefully Jace is painting up some rebels for me as he's listening, so that'd be cool. Also, let's give some shout outs here. We got Evan. We already shouted out to Roland. We had Francis on here. We had Rob. We had Joe DePinto, co-host of Legion Academy, of course. We've covered off Michael, Steven. Who cares about extra shout outs? That's fine. Appreciate that. Steven Radler. We have Chris Kerr. We have Gordon. We have Brian. We have Dave Taylor. Shout outs to Dave. Appreciate that. Thanks for sending me a book, Dave. We have Ash as well, and we'll catch that front side when it comes around here. Bernard says, question, when gluing plastic card, what is your favorite tube glue, liquid glue, super glue? Foxy, you got them all covered there, Gorilla Glue. Okay, so to be perfectly honest, it really depends on what I'm doing, how fast I want it done, and what exactly it is. So I have had good success with the sheeting using my LePage contact cement. And so what I mean by sheeting is like when I'm gluing things, for example, let's jump to the other image here. So for example, the sheeting that happens on here. So somebody asked me a good question. They said, like, was it hard to get the contours and get the plastic card to manipulate around this? And the answer is absolutely, it was actually. It was quite a challenge for a couple reasons. To get the plastic card to conform to this, for example, took some doing because I actually used one solid piece to do this whole edge right here. So in order to do that, you can't just take the contact cement, throw it on, and stick it on, and then expect it to just stay like that, because it will stay fine here. It will even stay fine here. It will even stay fine here, but what the problem is this right here. So it gets so much tension and torque. And so what happens is it goes on here, it goes around there, it clips here, it'll hold for a bit, then you might get a delamination here, you'll get a bow there. So the trick is you have to put it in place and then you have to secure it along, and I use painter's tape to do that. However, you can't use super glue on here, because if you guys know anything about super glue, what happens is it's going to eat through the foam. It'll eat directly through it. It's tricky because you can't use hot glue either, because it does the exact same thing. Although you can use hot glue to put pieces down, you just have to make sure that when you're putting it down, you understand how it's going to conform. So if you put it down and it's somewhat cool, then you can stick some pieces in. The problem is if you put it down and it's too low temp, you'd never get it to go down here and get the piece to hold. And so that's a problem. So I really like the contact cement for the sheeting. A nice thing about it as well is that it remains quite sticky. And so if you have to go back and fix anything, you can actually just reapply, and then it will reactivate and it will adhere. Can't really do that with super glue because it builds up a crust, and you have to kind of scrape that away, and you need some material to pull that away. I also used the contact cement to do all of the posts. And so all the sheeting on the posts, I use contact cement for all of that. The rods are actually not glued in. They're actually held in place by both friction and torque. And so this is one rod that runs all the way to this central piece right here. And so it's just flexing here. These ones all run down into here. So this one has so much tension on it. It's just, it needed to be tight in there. So that worked. I also like the contact cement for doing any of the corrugated stuff. So people ask me about this. It is in fact a cardboard. It is in fact a corrugated cardboard, but it's pre-colored, so it's black on both sides, and the black is just whatever. It doesn't matter what color it is; it'll be painted. But this is really nice because it's really uniform. Can you make this yourself? Sure, you can peel apart existing cardboard. The only problem is you'll get like kind of the papery finish on it, and if it's not super consistent, it won't look super good on the finished product. So looks really good. You can use this for like roofing. You paint up like metal, whatever you want. It's really awesome material. Also glued down with contact cement. If I'm doing something that's really thin, for example, if I shift back over to the other screen here, if I'm doing something like the sheeting for this, what I want to do with that is I want to use the super glue because I just want that real quick tight finish and that nice flush fit. The contact cement, while great, it works best when you apply it in two applications, meaning both surfaces. So to put it down on here and on here, the glue ends up being too thick. You sandwich it together and you get sort of this like sort of squishiness and it squeezes out. And because this is only 0.4 mil transition, any glue that builds up in there is going to sort of blur out that edge, and I'm looking for that definition in here. So then I'm going to shift over to like a super glue, and I'm just using gap filling stuff by Bob Smith Industries. I just really like that particular glue. I don't use any Gorilla Glue. I haven't used any of that. I don't usually use epoxies unless I'm gluing something that's like really difficult to manage. There was a particular piece on the Felucia table that I went through about 7 different types of adhesive. I finally found a contact cement that worked for sure. The black cardboard question. If you're looking for something like that, and I'll tell you, if you go look at this particular section, I'm going to tell you a particular store, you will find a plethora of really cool materials to use. And so what you want to do is you want to go to a Michael's or similar store, you want to go to the scrapbooking section, and you want to go to their textured papers. So you can get stuff, for example, I think if any of their Flames of War players out there, if you go and look and grab paper that is a basketball texture or a football texture, it's great for cobblestone. So you put it down, it's like got this really nice pebbly look. You paint it up. I used it for all my 15mm roads forever. It's fantastic. This stuff is also in the craft section, in the scrapbooking section. Corrugated cardboard looks fantastic. You can get tiled stuff. You can get all kinds of different materials. On the topic of that, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more robust in terms of not paper, you can also get plastic cards. So if you guys can see that's a sheeting. I use this actually for the door on the wall. And so if I bring this over here, you guys can see let me bring it down. There you go. If you guys can see that, I actually use that on the interior side of the door. And so I just wanted to have a little bit of a texture in there. Additionally, there's also, there's a ton of stuff you can get. Stuff still in the plastic, but you guys can see there, that's actually square tiles, as you can get that in various sizes as well. So this particular one, I think these are 1/4 inch. No, these are 1/3 of an inch tiles, but you can get 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. You can get all kinds. It's fantastic stuff. Very usable for multiple applications. And you can put it down and make a nice textured floor for whatever you're doing, either model, if you're building something like, let's say, an diorama type thing and you wanted to kind of do larger scale, 1/6 scale figs or something like that, you can certainly use it. If you wanted to do sort of a smaller scale, but you wanted this like redundancy, like let's say a sidewalk or something like that, cut that into strips and you got an instant sidewalk with really cool textures. So lots of applications there as well. All right, let's get back to cutting some of these guys out. Nice aside there. Okay, that one we were needing to. That one's good. That one's good. We gotta trim that guy up there. Okay. What else we got for shout outs here? I think I got as far as Nick before. We want to shout out to Dave Sheldon. We got before. I think that's where I left off. So Indy's on there. Indy Jones. We got the Dragoons, or the Dragons, sorry. Caleb is on there. Jay Douglas. We want to shout out to Ryan, to Keith, to Yanis, to Zach, to Kyle, to Mark. A shout out to Gregor. We want to shout out to Francis. There we go. Got him through once for sure. So all the patrons, thank you. Big shout outs on all these live streams. Look for another video to drop there by the end of the month. We'll do another tutorial up for you guys, as well as access to all the existing. So if you guys want to check that out, for sure do it. Plug continuing away. All right, so next up, 2 more to cut. Set that aside. Go to here. Just want to make sure that they dry fit in quite nicely. See if I need to trim anything on the front. We do a little bit of a trim there. Up that over. Same deal here. Looks pretty good. Okay. Now we'll quickly measure off these, cut 2 more, get another one done. Alright, so this and this. Let's switch over and grab this for a second. Same premise, it's just there we go. Alright, there's one of those. Let's do another one. Go. Cut 2 more. Any more questions? Sorry, where are we at here? Noah's joining us. Welcome, Noah. Perfect. Yes, definitely an average stream for sure. First hour, it was way above average. Fair enough. He is being too kind. I'm quite sure it was average at best. So, but here we are. Thanks for joining us, Noah. All right. Just going to cut this one cut here with the ruler just because it's the longest cut. The other ones are quite short, so I can eyeball those ones. So just run a risk with this one here. So thought I'd just use my ruler on that. There we go. All right, let's cut a few more of these. See how many we can knock out here in this stream with all the distractions, pleasant distractions. There we go. Go. All right, that is done. One more. There. Right there. There, and there. Break that away. Good. All to the side. Let's do it again. All right, grab that glue. Now there's a reason why I'm not just applying it to the side is because all those negative spaces where the strips are not going to go, I don't want to have to go in with my sanding stick and clean that all up later. I'm trying to have as least amount of extra glue on there as possible. It's not really going to matter because I know a lot of people think that like super glue mess is like a disaster. It's not on specific terrain pieces. In fact, it really helps add a texture underneath. If you're ever doing like a rust surface or anything, I actually fully recommend just taking some super glue, slathering it over the space that you're going to work on, then taking a really rough, like not a super rough, like not like a 40 grit sandpaper or anything, but like take like a 200 grit sandpaper, sand over that, put some cut lines into it, then give it a little bit of a soft sand, and then put your rust on there, because then you're gonna have like deep gashes and cuts and grooves and a little bit of like bulging up, and it'll actually look like surface rust, and actually give your rust a little bit more texture. So I'm actually gonna be doing that with these, not necessarily rust, but just the environmental effects, the sand buildup, and it's just going to allow me to get a little bit of a better texture. I just don't want to do it too much. I don't want to have them all look super uniform, but any little glue that squirts out, I'm not really concerned about, specifically for the reasons I just mentioned. All right, so I'm just going to slide those kind of into place, let them squeeze together there. On the tip here, just let them glue together. Let that fit in. I'll let that one solidify before I trim the bottom. Excuse me. I believe it was this one that was up next. Bottom looks fairly good. I'll trim that up a little bit. It's pretty darn good, but there's just like the smallest slivers possible. We'll just trim them flush. That looks good. Okay. Now we're going to go at this end, same sort of premise as before. Taking that fine sanding stick. If you get any delamination, because it's like it has so little glue on it, you can just go back and just reapply it, just using a piece of your cut off material just to slide it underneath. Like this one's got a little teeny bit here at the front. Just where I was mostly aggressive with the sandpaper is causing the issue. So I'm just gonna reapply just a little teeny bit of glue. There we go. And it will just immediately regrip, and so it won't be an issue at all. There we go. Another one done. So got 3 of those all ready to go. 4th one ready in the wings. Just got to dry up, and on to the next one. Here we go. Keep those questions coming. If you want to see anything, let me know. If you got any questions about design or next steps or what you're going to see next, I'll answer all that stuff. You guys know me. I can't just sugarcoat everything. It's not all going to be these fantastic steps. This is all fantastic steps. These are steps to get to the finish. So anything that gets us closer to the finish is fantastic. Just doing those crude measurements here real quick. There we go. Next up, I'm going to kind of work at a little bit faster pace. You guys have seen all this, so you don't need me to walk you through it all. And you can really get in a stride and a rhythm. I'm sure you guys have batch painted something before, or have found that your stride when you're hobbying, where you things just rip off real quick. This can definitely be like that. As long as you're running into any snags and you're not sort of like constantly going back and fixing things, you really find some efficiencies here. If you guys have a chance, you haven't subbed yet, please go to the YouTube channel, sub. It would be fantastic, particularly because I want to try the widget out, as I mentioned. But most particularly because then you guys will see all the future notifications for videos when they pump out. That will be happening pretty soon. This is actually my 10th video on the Kashyyyk project already, believe it or not. It's crazy. And I'll have another one filmed for the patrons, so it'll be number 11. Well, in addition to the tree ones, so there's others for sure. What am I doing here? This way. Certainly not all the hours, and not every single hour that I've worked on here I've videoed, but as you guys can likely suspect from the update photos, things happen off camera as they need to. Bernard, I'm not sure if you're still hanging out, but hopefully you are, and if you go to Patreon, you'll notice that I did upload all those photos of that commission that I finished up for DGS Games. And so I think I put up about 70 some odd photos there for you, as well as the other patrons, so you guys can go have a look at those. Hopefully you had a chance to see that, or at least got the update for it anyway. Some more inspiration for you there if you're working on any desert terrain or arid, dry terrain. Certainly lots of inspiration there. A bunch of foam work as well. So ask all the questions that you want about the foam techniques used. Perfect. Oh, here we go. Sorry, missing some stuff up there. Otis, welcome. Thank you for coming. Otis giving a shout out to chat. What's your thoughts on MDF terrain versus resin cast terrain, 3D printed terrain, etc.? I saw the note. Check it out later tonight. Perfect. Quick glimpse, like the texture. Perfect. Yeah, it was a super fun project. So yeah, definitely check that out. I'm interested to see what you think, and of course your questions. Sorry, back to your other part about MDF terrain versus resin cast terrain, 3D print. So thoughts on it? I think it all has its place. I do have Knights of Dice sent me over, my friend Viv out of Australia, sent me a whole package of wicked sci-fi terrain, most usable for Star Wars Legion. And so I'll be doing some assembly and paint and terrain videos on all that as well. So we'll get that incorporated. And of course, you know, Dave, Imperial Terrain. We have a ton of stuff. From there, we're going to be doing up a Camino table as a next after the Kashyyyk project. We're going to do a Camino project. That will be again another Patreon project. So that'll be a fully funded by me project for here in house, and so we use Patreon to drive that one. But that is going to be fun. So I think every one of them has its fun things to do. I guess. So I really still feel like I like MDF terrain the best over 3D printed terrain because I think the preparation for it is so much quicker. And I think in terms of MDF terrain, you can do a lot of textures on it and you have a little bit of a better palette to start with. Because you don't have to do any prep sanding on MDF. Typically you don't anyway. And then you can certainly apply textures. I also like the fact that when MDF terrain comes, it's flat packed, right? And so when I get an MDF model, it's going to be like, I mean, I have some over there, but I'll just use these for example. It's just going to be like a piece of terrain like this. And so one of the things that I've really found, and we've done this, Jason and I did a ton of these for a foil project that we did for Flames of War. And what I ended up doing was I almost prepared most of the buildings before I ever assembled them. So having a flat pack, able to either paint it or texturize it or weather or add the extra details and all those things, you're able to really do that before you assemble it. And so you almost have like, it's like the equivalent of having like a sprue or a frame for a model, and where you can kind of pre-paint. Now typically a lot of people don't do that, but you certainly can. But with models like texturizing, instead of having to like sort of texturize a vertical surface on a building like this, yeah, sure, I can grab the building and turn it like this, but the idea of being able to do all those surfaces at once, or even being able to spray all those surfaces at once and get a consistency. So when you paint a building, it's this side, it's this side, it's this side. Oh, what did that look like? I got to turn it back and check that out, as opposed to just working on a flat palette. So I really like the concept of MDF terrain, how it comes. I like how it goes together, and I like what you can do to it out of the box. Now, obviously, there's a little bit more work to it. It's a little less finished or polished, I guess, when it comes off the bed. But in terms of prep work and the finalized work, I think MDF you can do just as much, if not more, than 3D prints for sure. So there's my answer to your question. Like it or lump it, I guess. Chat, you can dispute, agree, or provide your own context to that. All welcome for sure. All right, let's pop this on here. Let's get this glued down. Just a bit more on this piece just because I want to make sure I get really good adherence. I don't want to have to fix any of those fronts, so I'll kind of slather the front a little bit more. Let it squeeze out, and then we'll sand it off anyway. So, excuse me. Long tooth there. I'll have to trim that guy in the front just a little bit. All right. I'm doing a Patreon push. I'm going to set myself some targets. So this month coming up, May, I'm 39 currently. I'd like to push it. I'm gonna shoot for a 50 goal. So if you are already a patron, that's fantastic. If you're not, consider it. And if you are and you want to sort of give me a little bit of help and shove some people my way, fantastic. I mean, you get value for it, so it's not like you're not just giving a straight donation, although it's welcome as well. If you don't want to become a patron, I know people don't like that reoccurring cost, but Certainly appreciate all that. Like to do some Patreon giveaways, although I can't say Patreon giveaway on Patreon, but I certainly hook some people up, so can't do giveaways on Patreon. Do giveaways on Legion Academy, that's where you get stuff. So, all right, so that is in place. Got to do a little bit of sanding up front here, just to get that to fit in place. There we go. Let that one set aside. Shift back to this one. Pressing on through here. How we doing? We're doing all right. So as you can see, everything takes some time. Obviously, it's a little bit more when I stop and chat and all that good stuff. But you know, this is probably a good solid few hours of work. But then when it's done, it's done. That's it. This would be just as much probably coming off a 3D printer to print like 24 of these. I'm not sure how long that would take, but it's something satisfying about doing all this. I like it. I like it. All right, just trimming that up. There we go. Perfect. Got a little sandal on the bottom. Like it. Have it nice and clean. Go. All right, sand this front. You guys have seen this before. Just angling that. Just want to get that line, you know, just a little bit more flush, a little bit more of a polished, finished look. The truth of this is that this very piece that I'm working on the front, this is where the sand and the paste are going to go up over, right? So the sand is really going to, you won't see any of the bottom of this. Like, it's going to have a natural buildup. But I want to make them look like they're a finished piece right to the ground, no matter if it's going to be covered or not. I don't want to skimp on anything. Obviously, on the back, there's 100% no point to do anything here, and then the foam's actually going to adhere to the plastic card. So to put it across there, one of the reasons that I didn't was because there's a trough and it's setting under the line. And let me just show you that real quick. And I'm going to go and check all your questions there in a second, Bernard, or comments. So if I'm going back to this, excuse me, sliding back over, switch this back in place. There's a lip that runs right underneath here, and so when these pieces go in, they come underneath, and the trim, the top trim pieces, I cut them back just so they fit in. And so if I had a plastic card, I would actually shoot this out just a little bit more. And the further I go out, the less likely these are to fit together. And so there was a strategic plan in terms of not putting anything on the back, but you can see those fit in really, really tight. The gap disappears in between, they get glued. Then the sand and the paste is going to go right up underneath. We're going to build that up. I want to have some of them kind of half buried, so to speak. So, but I don't know exactly where that's going to happen. So everyone's going to be the same palette to start, and then we'll work on moving from there. So that is the logic there. All right, let's jump back under here. There we go. Sorry, I just muted all these microphones when I was doing setup, so thank you. I was just reading your comments, Bernard. So yes, I agree. All the same. We have the same points on the MDF for sure. And then yeah, I mean, what club wasn't delayed, right? So one of the main inspirations for this right here is, like I said, this is not a customer project. This is a me project. But what we're gonna do with this is we want to have something when we hit back with the Friday night fights. We want to bring you some cool stuff, right? We want to really immerse some new players, some experienced players, and kind of get back into the, to the feel and the look of Legion. Legion has so much to offer in terms of aesthetics, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to do really unique builds and incorporate some, 3D prints, scratch builds, MDF, all that sort of stuff. And so we're going to bring you a variety of tables, and one of the things I wanted to do is bring you a scratch build table with a ton of vertical surface, because I think that's a missing element in our game. And I wanted to bring something on Skirmish, because I think Skirmish is another format that perhaps will be a really nice transition back to the full game, or an intro for people who haven't necessarily experienced the full game and don't want to sit down for 3 to 4 hours that first couple times, because it can take that long. And if you can give them a more digestible format, which I think on camera translates really nice, hour and a half games, easy digest, easy YouTube videos, and really look good and fun. Action gets started quicker. All those reasons is why I wanted to do a skirmish table. Of course, if somebody wants me to build a full-size table, not opposed to that, but here in studio, much easier to store a couple skirmish tables than it is to store multiple full tables that aren't modular, I should say. And we got lots of terrain here for sure, lots of 3D prints. All right, just make sure we're doing good there. You guys should have sound now, I believe. I just, on the transition, I turned the microphones off. Hopefully you do. Yeah, grappling hooks 100% will be used. 100% used. Grappling hooks, ascension cables, and we're going to incorporate, of course, we're going to bring in some of the vines, right? So remember, I believe I showed you guys these before. I've yet to do up the tutorial, but we got so we got these, right? So these cool line options right there, you guys can see them. They will be incorporated into the build, and so they're very stiff, these ones, so they'll have a lot of robust nature to them. And then we'll also incorporate some, like, creepy vines, like stuff like this, right? That's going to hang down. And so when you start incorporating like vines and then other vines with the twist, and then you start getting some like really cool elements sort of hanging down and start fleshing out and bulking out the tree. It's gonna look really sharp. So yeah, no, 100% agree. It is lacking, and it's not because people don't want to try. I don't think it's that. I just think that it's just people just don't have access to super large pieces. They're either not printing them because of bed restrictions, or there's not a lot of value in that, or perhaps they think it's a little bit limiting, or perhaps it skews the game a little bit more to certain units. But I think there's lots of ways to incorporate it. You can even house rule on super large pieces in terms of how movement works. So we'll come up with some of that stuff when we get to the gameplay aspect. All right, so that's that. Next up, back to the bits, cutting. All right, first up, this guy. First line. Second line. Third line. Fourth line. Fifth. Do it again. One. Two. Three. 4. And 5. Go. Move this out of the way. And do some cutting with my knife, which is here. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll finish up all these off camera when I do end stream here, and we'll have this all done. And so, another update, probably a photo. I don't know when the next video I'll do publicly will be, but we'll definitely bring some photos. So the next video will be a Patreon video for sure. Got to get them up to speed on all the stuff, all the tutorial bits. Got to film the next tutorial, get that up. But of course, I want to stay at the Kashyyyk build because There's going to be so many fun things to do. We'll have the beach. That'll be a real fun element, but I think the groundwork will be the next real thing that I think if you haven't experienced working with like Cellular Clay or Sculpt to Mold or anything like that, the ability to build up your ground is going to be really cool. We're going to do a cool ground texture on this one as well. It's something that I use for the Scarif build, and it's a combination of using sawdust as well as acrylic paste. And so you mix it all together. So it's a combination of weld bond, so glue, some scenic cement to kind of put a liquid adhesive in. It's primarily consists of sawdust, really fine, particular textured sawdust. And then you mix it with acrylic paste. You mix it all together. You can dye it to give it a sort of a pre-tone, and then you put it down. And what it ends up looking like is a very fibrous surface that's very akin to like something you'll see in a sort of a tropical region. And so it kind of has that squishy type look. It looks like it's kind of like very sponge-like, and it's a very unique ground cover. So I think you guys will be interested to see what that looks like, and I'll do the recipe up as well. You guys will have access to that via the page as well. So I look forward to that. I look forward to sort of sharing in that process and how that goes down. And so that will be kind of the bulk of the non-sand texture. So I really have been thinking a lot about that. I've used it before, and I think that it has a fitting application here on the Kashyyyk planet as well. So do that, and we got to do a bunch of vegetation. And then we got to do a bunch of moss coverage. That's going to be a whole other stage when we've mossed the whole thing. And so all these clean, super clean pieces that we're making now, these walls and etc., will all get a nice layer of moss and vegetation, and really start looking like it's like part of the planet. So, all right. So that one we're going to set aside. We're going to shift this one back here. What do we got for some comments here? Excuse me. Let's see here. No, I can't wait for Friday night's fights to be back. Right there with you. Absolutely looking forward to them to be back, because I would like to play, and casting is super fun there. So unconventional Friday night fights absolutely will happen. We'll definitely do the unconventional warfare and kind of have that strung over a couple weeks. That is also a fantastic idea. Force pushing units off the tree needs to be a thing. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Definitely going to be a thing. So fall damage, it will be incurred. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll come up with some real cool house rules for the Kashyyyk table. Alright, so I'm just trimming up the bottom pieces here, just making sure we get everything nice and lined up. Looks good there. Again, we'll go back to our fine sand. Just trim that together there. Flex in that, so probably just gonna add a bit, touch more glue onto that guy. It's kind of an abrasive process. Well, it's literally abrasive. Just got to be careful. You sand one side, it's fine. Whatever side is slightly less long, you just get an edge picked up with the sandpaper, and so you have to just be a little bit more cognizant of that. So just apply a little bit of glue back down there. I think we'll be fine. There we go. Great. That looks like it worked out nicely. All right, there you go. There's another one for the pile. That one's drying. Let's rip another couple off here. All right. How are we doing on that piece of stuff? It's starting to look like a saw blade almost here. All right, let's grab another one. This is a great, it's a great live stream thing for me anyways. It's probably less entertaining for you guys, but like I said, it's not really about the work, it's about the hangout, it's about the questions. Yeah, this is great. Just throw on a Netflix series, work your way through. It's like, oh, I got 5 pieces done during that episode. And then just use your episodes as your gauge, your time gauge. That is not quite enough space. I'm just trying to find a space that I can cut that. I'm gonna have to square myself an edge here. I have run out of square edges. There we go. And back to it. Open. Yeah, well, it's gonna take a Joe travel to make that happen, at least in studio, anyway. So that'll be a thing. Oh, so what happened last night, you didn't actually miss it, so that'll be Tuesday, because what happened was everyone suddenly developed some plans for Friday, and then I actually had a grad meeting happen as we had chosen the time of 7 o'clock on Friday. So previously it was obviously not a conflictual time, but then we wanted to move the stream, and then we were going to go a bit later, so you didn't actually miss it. The name of the team will be revealed on Tuesday. What does it say here? What I missed last night was the name of the team. I think it's supposed to be betting $10 on the name to get a burrito. Okay, fair enough. So if you win, congratulations. If you lose, don't blame me. And yes, it should be fun. We're gonna get all the guys on, and we're gonna have a little bit of a chit chat. I'm gonna pose some questions to them that they, unbeknownst to them, we're gonna put some people on the spot and attempt to get some hurt feelings. So. I just say that we're probably gonna have hurt feelings because that's how we roll. No, it should be good. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun topic because it's pretty quiet Legion wise. All right. Feeling pretty rhythmic at this point. You guys are probably like, "Oh, yeah, this is tedious stuff." It is, no doubt. It happens. Everyone I get done though is one I'm closer to the finish, so that's what's making me feel motivated to get it done. These end pieces are a little tricky to get straight, so there we go. All right, let's find another couple of these. I feel I will not win oh, that was $10. Gotcha. I was like, this you're feeling 90% confident, but no, gotcha. You feel you will not. Who did you bet with, Bernard? That's the key. Who's that person? Who's the guy getting the burrito, or gal? All right, so that is that. Easy peasy. Next up. Go. Trim it in there. I gotta have my tea here. Oh, fair enough. So you bet against your wife here. Awesome. That's good. So is a gallon. Good. Nobody would name a team that. I'm dying to know what your guess is. That's for sure. I just don't know what. I don't know if you want to know if you lost already or not, or if you want to just savor in the potential chance for victory. Another one on the way. And you could certainly do this in many ways. Like this side trim piece is really not like, it's not make or break, but it's about sticking to the uniqueness of the design. And like I said, it's a pretty important element in terms of sticking to that sort of barricade look. And so it does functionally nothing. It's not structural. It's purely an aesthetic. It's just designed to give it a little bit more of a surface to kind of be accentuated when we add that paint on. And so we're going to kind of put like this burgundy sort of reddish color in there and really add some color splash along the beach. So that's the whole point of that. All right, what do we got here? 144. Let's knock out a couple more here before we get off. I said I'd do 2 hours today, so easy to do. I can be down here and just log like so many hours so quickly. It's like you're in a time sink. You lose track of time. If I didn't have a window, I'd never know what kind of time it is. Oops. I know I'm getting more efficient because the glue, I can just see the glue is like a little bit more wet each time, so I'm like getting faster, catching up to myself. I should probably do two. Let them dry for about two times worth, but we'll just keep going here because I can just delaminate that pretty quickly on the front there. I'm just going to add a little bit more glue in there already. It's the problem when it gets to the front, there's so little surface area for it to actually stick, and so it's not even a matter of how much glue. You can only put so much glue there. It's mostly a matter of like just how much surface area is literally there to attach. So I'm going to just actually trim this one down a little bit. Right, there we go. And when you use the filings, when you do file with this sandpaper, it actually creates your filings. And if your glue is a little teeny bit wetter, you have to patch repair it. The filings actually act like almost like a grout, and will fill it in. So this one's still very wet. It's actually sliding around a little bit, so I might need to just leave this one a bit more. This one just does not want to solidify. There's some accelerant on here. Hold that down. Okay, so it's 50% chance until you reveal the name. After the name's revealed, then you have me go way down. Yeah, fair enough. It probably does like 0 even, like if you got it wrong. I think that's how math works. You're either right or wrong on that. Unless you guys are going for like partial correctness, in which case you may have a bit more better odds. There we go. That's all I needed. I just need a little accelerant to squeeze that together. That looks good. Looks like a very conducive piece. Hey, we got 6 done, 7 done there. We're doing well. So, what we had about 23 of them, so we'll be like 1/3 of the way there. Let's slide over so we can have a look at the actual table again here. Excuse me. There we go. Let's grab the finished ones. So slide that over here. Let's see if we can sort of get a little profile of this. It looks good. Looks much better with the side pieces than just having the tedious flat sides, that's for sure. Yeah, it's gonna look very sharp. And also, I should say, there's going to be a piece that is going to go across. If you ever looked at the Kashyyyk barricades, they sort of have this like adjoining piece that goes from one section to the other, and so it's kind of designed like almost like a lock, and so you can kind of have this like flex. They can sort of bend and change the shape of that, and so I'll have that sort of linked between there, but I'm going to add that after. What I'm going to do once I finish these pieces off, and like I said, I got to trail that all the way over to here, and I'm going to go close up to the door, but not quite. Once I have all that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to gray primer out everything, and I'll gray primer before I add the paste. Then I'm going to go in and put a few rock structures in, start putting in the preliminary paste, and then I'm going to go back and re-prime everything. And so obviously some of the rocks and the ground will get that preliminary color. The ground will get covered in its own base coat, so I'm not worried about overspray, but I do want to make sure that I get a base coat on here, and then when I put everything in place, if I've scratched anything or if I missed any gaps, I want to go in and blast it again. The last thing I want to do is have pink or white shining really strongly through. And so once that all gets done, I'll be able to go in and start basing out some of the colors. And so it's going to be a little bit difficult in the sense that I don't want to paint the whole wall before it goes down, not at least the finished bit of it. It'd be ideal, but it's very difficult in terms of being able to paint everything to a finished standard, then go add in all the paste, because the paste is going to kind of get on the finished product. And then I don't want to have to get in this battle back and forth between scraping and not scraping. So that's one of the things that I want to be cognizant of. So look for this to not be pink and not be white fairly soon, and so that'll definitely be the next Patreon update will exactly be that. It'll be right before I do that, because I want to show them the transition from this to the next stage. So try to be a little bit more finished and polished on there. But yes, Aaron, awesome, glad you made it. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming over. And yes, you are correct. You made it just before I'm going to end off. I'm going to do a little bit more work, but not a ton more. But I do appreciate you stopping by for sure. Okay, so we got one drawing in the wings. Let's see here. We have, just looking at section-wise, so there's 6 more there to do. There's another 6 there, 2 piles of 8, and we're going to have 8 done here, 6, 7. Yeah, so basically 3 sections of the equivalent of what I've done today. So be much quicker when I'm not prattling on. So, but yeah, I'll do all those this evening, and so I'll try to get you guys an update, at least a photo update later on the Train Studio page. So look for that Facebook page. You guys will see that up there, and you guys, I'll get some shots so you can actually see like the detail. And as I said, it's nearly impossible to show you white on white, but we'll do our best. So. There we go, that's that one. Another one. All right. Okay, I'm not going to cut with a pen. That's not going to work. See what kind of time we can do on this. Let's say I started at, let's say 150. I'm sure it didn't take me a minute and a half to do that, but I'll say 151 just to fairly round this out. We'll see how long it takes me to get this actually done if I'm gonna go for speed. Speed, but not rushing. I'll do kind of like the speed I would do if I was not prattling on. That line. I was like, why do I have 3 lines there? That doesn't make any sense. There's one to cut. these out, see how we did. That line looked a little bit off, so. There's that. That one. That one. That one. Down. There. And there. Let's check these against there. Looks good. Check that against that. Looks good. This one here. Oops. I'll get to your comments in a second. I'm just trying to stay at this. Here. Push that together. Add a little sand. That'll. All right, that looks good. What do we do for time? All right, so 56, so about 5 minutes per. So that's not terrible. Yeah, see you later, Bernard. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out. It'll be a few more minutes here. We'll probably do probably just finish up these last bits of sanding here. And appreciate you hanging out as always. Catch me on Patreon. Go check out that update, like I said, that I uploaded there. Those photos that you asked about. So. Encourage everybody to go check that out. $5 a month gets you everything. $2 a month if you want to just get the paint guides and the updates. $5 gets you a video, gets you everything that's been posted. So all past videos, all future videos. $15 if you want to do a connect, and I'm doing it for $5 folks this month as well. So if you want to do a connect and you're at the $5 level, bonus. Just help you problem solve, troubleshoot, talk products, get some advice, all that good stuff. Share what limited knowledge I have. But it's yours to have if you need it. There you go. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue over that end cap just to solidify that. There we go. Boom. Drop some accelerant on that. Just put that little bit of sandings in there just to fill that out, like I said, like a little bit of a grout. Good. That's another one there. I know this one's early, but I'm just going to accelerate to this one so I can speed that up. Yeah, it's probably going to be okay. Probably need to give that a second. Squish that together. Alright, I don't think either one of these guys needed to be trimmed on the bottom, did they? This guy might need to do that while I'm waiting. Yeah, so like I said, we'll get this done, and then I'll get some gray primer on there, and then I'll get you guys some good definition shots so you guys can see exactly what everything's going to look like with
everything in plastic card looks much better with a little bit of gray paint on it, just because it starts getting that definition into the piece.
And then you can also see the depth of everything, because I think that gets lost in translation of how much actual depth is in some of these designs, because the layers are so thin. So I think you guys will appreciate some of the finer work that's in these pieces. There's just a fine sanding stick that I'm using here, so just able to do it without putting texture lines in it. I have a medium one as well. It really takes off a lot of bulk, but it does like basically scratch up the surface. I use that to take off like glue or any surface that I need to muck up in preparation for glue. So that's another thing that happens. So awesome. Slide back over here. Pop this guy in here. That looks great. Super. Another piece over here. And there we go. So it doesn't take long to get, I guess long is a relative term, but it doesn't take long for it to start to shape up, right? There's 2 more that need to go here, and then probably another 8, basically the remaining 16 will fill here, so 2 there and 14 more to go right there. So that's what we have. Let me jump back over to my screen here, my main screen. There we go. So thanks for hanging out. Keep me some company here today, guys. So like I said, go jump over to the YouTube channel if you want to see the previous 9 days. Basically worked on the concept of adding the foam, getting the beach in, getting the frame done up for where the layers are, the platform layers. A little bit of the concept around the plastic card. We did some work around that as well. And so that was all done on those videos. So it's called Kashyyyk Week. It's on the Train Studio channel, easy to find. Should be the latest videos that are uploaded there. This one will end up there as well. And then what we'll do is we'll do a Patreon update on the weekend, just to sort of recap all of the project, talk a little bit more about some of the tree plans as well, how we're going to link all that together. I say we, I mean me. We as a collective, we're going to work on it together here, and so we'll get that done. So once again, appreciate all the patrons. You guys have been running up the top banner all day today, and I want to make sure that people know who you are and what you're doing in terms of supporting the channel. That is fantastic. Go sub, that'd be fantastic. We drive those sub numbers up. That would also be super helpful to me as well. It just gives more exposure. And just stay tuned for more stuff. Like I said, I'll have another video coming out for public. I'm not sure which one I'm releasing next, but it'll be like December's or something like that will be coming up, so you guys can see that. And I'm going to get to the next tutorial. I'm here just working on some converting a muddy road into a winterized road, but I'm going to be using some frosting techniques and really kind of go for a wet slush look, and something that people might want to incorporate, just kind of moving away from some of the stuff I've been working on previously. But yeah, lots of fun stuff up there. I've shared a number of photos reference some projects that I did. So that's a project that I just finished up, and so there's all kinds of photos around that and the foam work. I will do a foam tutorial because that's been a big ask in terms of specifically on here, like how to cut certain things and how to replicate shapes. And so really it's done with the Proxxon cutter, but there's some jigs that are involved, and basically you can do almost anything on it in terms of foam cutting manipulation. There is good old hand tools that you can use as well. So some of the softer manipulations and more natural forms like the beach, that's done by hand and just sort of shaping that in. But the ultimate look's going to come from the ground cover. And as we work in the Kashyyyk clay and all those other things. So I look forward to that. We do have to do some plastic card work on the backside, so I probably won't do that on camera for you guys, but I will do some photos and some videos around that, just sort of showing you that. It's going to be a redundant panel. I'm just going to kind of replicate that panel going around and tying that all in. And then, of course, the best part is the easiest part, but definitely going to be a part that ties it all together, the vegetation. And so we'll do all the vegetation that's really going to tie this in. The moss effects, the converting over the palms are going to convert some palm trees into sort of ground effects, ground ferns, I should say, as well as tying in the vines, making the vines, and then tying in some plastic plants just to sort of solidify the look. So appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out, Noah. I do appreciate that. Above average, that's high by your standards, so I do appreciate that for sure. So like I said, guys, thanks for hanging out here in the Train Studio. I'll catch you next time. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I know that the work is tedious, but you guys know me. That's tedious is sort of my middle name in terms of getting this knocked out. But end product, I promise you, will be awesome. I think you guys will appreciate it, and I think you'll most enjoy it when we get to play games on it, which is really the easiest part of this whole build. Rolling dice and smashing models is what we're all about here. So I will promise you I will stay average for sure. So I'll catch you guys next time, whether it's on here or another platform, or make sure you guys tune into Legion Academy. We broadcast on Wednesdays, and you guys can catch us on this channel and in the Legion Academy platform as well. So we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching, and stay safe. Cheers.